Howdy, how you going? Thought I'd talk about Bugs Bunny today a bit while it's still fresh in my head, and this one never did amazingly well, but I wanted to talk about it because it's another of the cases. It's like Mickey Mouse. I just love both of them, and it's a fun list. It really is a fun list, so I thought there's no harm in chatting about it when I originally did this list, and I think people enjoyed it a bit, and this is when I started doing sort of actual stuff from me for the countdown more often, and I don't always use live action countdowns, but I think it adds a little bit of a human element to it. But more importantly, yeah, I just go through a couple of the Bugs Bunny here cartoons that weren't great. And the thing is that I very rarely found a Bugs Bunny cartoon that was outright bad. It was quite hard to find. So these are, even busting out, I couldn't help talking about, whenever you watch a Bugs Bunny cartoon, you can feel the history behind it, and you can almost feel the experience of Mel Blanc when you listen to him. And at this point, you can hear the experience. You can hear this man who has been doing this for half a century or more, and is just so experienced. Something I didn't talk about is Mel Blanc was actually in a car accident in a coma, and he is so connected to Bugs Bunny that what woke him up was when the doctor said, "Hey, Bugs," just randomly. He goes, "Yeah, what's up, Doc?" This guy just lives Bugs Bunny, and so it's really hard to make fun of him because he is so connected to the character, even when. And that's kind of the thing I try to point out with Bustin' Out, is that you can tell the writers have been doing this for 50 years, and they're just out of ideas. They're just like, stuff it, we're done. We've been doing this so long. And what I love is that you can tell as a director gets older, because they start to have this element of responsibility behind them sometimes, and they try to give good messages and stuff. And partially they were adapting to the times, but I think partially they were just less aggressive and obnoxious. And you can even see it in someone like Penn Jillette. I love Penn and Teller. I'm mixed on some of their philosophies, but I like them as people. And as Penn and Teller got older, I don't know about Teller, but he's always been quite controlled. But Penn, he tended to become a lot more calm and controlled and accepting as he got older, and you can really see that with the writers here, with Mel Blanc and Chuck Jones in their writing. It's much more accepting, talking about why are everyone fighting and all this other sort of thing. And I think it's both beautiful, but it doesn't make for an entertaining cartoon. We need that kind of almost childlike aggression in something like Bugs Bunny to a certain degree. So I think it's interesting. I really do. I was very hesitant to put this on the list, but I wanted to talk about it because it wasn't a quality cartoon. The writing wasn't good, but it was really interesting. And it's being destroyed for all my previous screw-ups in the past, or my previous opinions. This is probably among my least favorite of the cartoons, because this is like the second time Bugs Bunny has ever appeared, and they obviously haven't established a character. Why he has yellow kitchen gloves is beyond me. Why would you give Bugs Bunny yellow kitchen gloves? But at the time, they were still forming him. So that was, it was still forming the character. And, at the time, he would not eat carrots. I'm like, really? It's just so far gone from the Bugs Bunny we know today. And it's still cute, and you can still see it's got Chuck Jones as... I'm sorry, this is really middle ground. It's not just hating it, because it is so hard to hate Bugs Bunny. And it's all quality stuff still, in a fundamental level. All of this is better quality than something like, say, Teen Titans Go or something like that. There's so much more heart, so much more creativity. And then something like that. I don't know, any example you can think of, any of the worst cartoons, but... yeah, this is kind of their screw-up times when they just didn't quite have the formula right. And Looney Tunes show, I was very middle ground with. I've heard so many mixed opinions on it. One of the interesting opinions was that they like that Bugs Bunny is much more fallible, and Lola scenes were really good. I do agree with Doug on that, as I mentioned, Lola scenes were great. I keep including that part because it is just a really funny... It summarizes Lola so well in a few seconds. Like, she jumps in emotions everywhere, but this... Of all... I watched pretty much the whole series of the Looney Tunes show originally, and this was the one I was just like, I hate this episode. And I hate this shtick where... I guess because I am an Asperger's introvert, you know, the idea of someone coming into your home, destroying your sanctuary, and just destroying, you know, the place where you can recover from social is just, the idea of that is hell to me. Sorry about that, the mower came by and was interrupting the recording. But all I was saying is, like, when your sanctuary, it's just, the idea of that is hell to me, when your home is just wrecked by an intruder who, for some reason, you are unable to say no to. And I don't know why that shtick is done so often. I've seen it before in Rocko's Modern Life. I hated it there. I hated it in Sonic Boom. Of all of the times I've seen the shtick done, Sonic Boom probably does it the best because it works to their advantage. I mean, they get they always get sleep deprived. They get tired. They get miserable. They get angry. They are just resenting them, and all you can feel is the resentment of the characters, and it's the worst shtick. It is just the worst shtick. You don't know why they do it. It's not pleasant. It's not a pleasant element or even interesting. It's like, why don't they just say something? And anyway, yeah, I didn't dawdle on that one too much because it was like, yeah, but that isn't obviously Mel Blanc or Chuck Jones. That's the new creators, and that wasn't a good one. All this in Rabbit Stew, and what's interesting about this one is obviously it is racist as hell, and it is derogatory, and it shouldn't be forgiven. It's a product of the times where it was more normal, more usual, though not any more acceptable, to give that sort of racism, and it not acceptable, but it's a product of the times at the time. But the thing is about it that I do mention is that the jokes are okay. The jokes are really actually quite good. The music timing is great. The comedy timing is good. Finding the bear. And at the time, as I mentioned as a kid, I never even saw them as that stupid. Even though they've got the big lips and stuff. And it's obviously made, you can tell now, to be derogatory. I just thought he was a silly hunter because I didn't notice that he was African American, and I guess that's a beautiful thing about a child, is we don't necessarily notice these things, we just see them as humans or people. We notice what they're doing more. Yeah, I'll never be forgiven for saying again Ned Eddie's bad, but I stand by it. Pre-Hysterical Hare, interestingly, I got some mixed feedback on, like, some people were like, oh, it was just a weak episode and that sort of thing. That's what it is. It was just a weak episode, you know. The music didn't fit right, but I had one of my friends say that their mother, who used to watch this episode, said that it was based on a time period or something. The jokes don't really work. It's just the weakest of the bunch, and I looked very carefully through all the episodes and like reviews and stuff to sort of get a feel for which one to try and find. I tried to isolate these down, since there's so many Bugs Bunny episodes, down to about 20 or 30 episodes that were really bad, and this is one of the ones I found, and of all the bad ones I found, I was like, this one's probably the weakest for me. And the nice thing about Bugs Bunny is they're easy to review because they're only 5-10 minutes or so, and you know, when you've got to go through like 20 of them, it's much easier to do that. And I don't know what was up with Elmer Fudd's voice. It was just weird. I don't know what was happening in that episode. I don't think they hired someone else. There was some reasoning behind it that Mel Blanc was giving such a strange Elmer Fudd voice. Regular show. Saying that is overrated? Yeah, that's another one that I probably won't be. And, you know, a lot of people do obviously see the merits of it, and I haven't seen all the seasons, and I'm sorry that it ended. I would have liked to see a show like that keep going much more than the other ones we're getting on there. But, you know, I'm glad it went out with a graceful end, like Adventure Time. And with this, back in action, the first show I walked out on, but not the last. I think most people recognize that Simpsons reference. I don't think anyone's ever referenced that part, but I always thought it was really perfect to reference. It's got a good feel, and you can tell they were trying, but it just did not work. This arguably should have been on the list because I actually think it's more aggressive than All This and Rabbit Stew. And if I was to redo this list, I would probably put this instead of All This and Rabbit Stew because it's really mean. That's mean. Putting a grenade inside, I don't know, it's just a hair too close to reality. Putting a grenade inside a popsicle, that's I don't know, that's creepy. That's not really Bugs Bunny fun. And this one has got a lot of mixed feedback. It's interesting. Bugs Bunny has this constant thing where he's fighting with the Grim Reaper, and I think that's an interesting sort of inner commentary saying that he's fighting being ended and stuff, and I like that, but the jokes are certainly meh on a lot of them. And I don't get the existence of Baby Looney Tunes. Why does this show exist? It's just... bleh. This is an insult to Mel Blancs, Mel Blanc. Jesus, sorry. Excuse me, I've done a few of these commentaries, and my head's starting to go a bit fuzzy. And yeah, Chuck Jones, I feel like it doesn't do them service, and particularly when this is made after they have passed on, I feel a little insulted for them by it. It's not really in the spirit of Bugs Bunny. Tiny Toons is in the spirit of Bugs Bunny. He still maintains his character. And I think part of why Bugs Bunny always is the same character is it's because people are respecting the years and years and years that were put into this character. But this one is one that just feels like such a departure that it's an insult. And I can possibly see why the Looney Tunes show being a different take on Bugs Bunny is also badly received for that fact, because Bugs Bunny is different. And in this, it's just pandering, money-grubbing junk. There's no... I don't care if it's a good message. It's just disgusting. I hate it. I really hate it. And I don't like the fact that, you know, all these kids, Looney Tunes kids and Tiny Toons kids, and no, I like Tiny Toons. That's an example of a good kids spin-off. But so many of them, like Tom and Jerry kids, and are just junk. There's no reason for them to exist. You can just go watch the original. It's purely there to make money and appeal to kids, and I just can't stand that. I could have picked almost any episode from this series, and you know, I still could have gotten a decent argument out of it. I don't think many people disagreed with me on this one. I think most people were in agreement that, you know, they can kind of say, Looney Tunes Babies is cute, but you got to admit, it's completely off character. It's not what Mel Blanc and Chuck Jones would have envisioned for their characters. And, you know, they kind of still hold the rights to him. Alive or dead, they kind of still hold the rights to him. And I think most people respect that. And that's the thing. They still hold the rights to the original character. And that's why Bugs Bunny hasn't changed much. And honestly, that's a beautiful thing. But this just kicks in the face of that, and that's the fundamental thing. This is the only cartoon of Bugs Bunny I've found that just sticks in the face, like it completely disregards everything behind Bugs Bunny, and tries to cover it up and say it's okay because it's got a happy message. Like particularly this new Hare one, this new Bugs Bunny one coming out, that's still Bugs Bunny. This is still Bugs Bunny. It is all in the character of Bugs Bunny. Even if he's doing racist, horrible stuff, even the recent ones and the last ones, you know, they did all in the character of Bugs Bunny. So yeah, I think that's, as I said, an amazing thing. And it shows the magic of this cartoon, and why I do consider it is by far the best American cartoon of all time to me. And it should be, and it probably always will be. You know, and this was a little too close to blackface, and I apologize for that, but you know what was going on. I was being repeatedly shot in the face, so I was allowed to have soot on my face. Anyway, guys, thanks very much for watching. I'll talk to you later.